today. Sun playing peekaboo. Happy Easter, everyone. Yeah, they're coming to cheer on the Nats, and for many, it's their final chance to get that special autograph down by the dugout or get a picture taken with their favorite Nationals or announcers. Not many of those, though. But we're happy to be here, and this is our last time with you from Viera. It's been a nice 12 years down here for the Nationals, and a little nostalgia, and the Atlanta Braves are in town. A ball club is kind of rebuilding themselves.
Yeah, happy Easter to you, by the way.
You too.
And I'm going to get a little choked up. Our last game here at Viera. I hope I can make it through the broadcast, but we're excited. Yeah. Games that count right around the corner. One more spring training game on Masson.
Let's talk about the rotation, because part of it is really, really experienced. And then you talk about Gio Gonzalez in terms of his success, and the Nats seem to reflect what he does. He had the great year in 2012 with over 20 wins. They wanted to get in 14 when he had the good ERA. So, FP, in my opinion, this lefty is really a huge key to the rotation.
Yeah, definitely. You saw in that graphic, 2012, they ranked first. 2014, they ranked first. They won the National League East. A direct correlation between the starting rotation, but Gio Gonzalez is definitely the wild card. You look at his starts as a National. Last year, his ground ball percentage up at 55%. His strikeout percentage down at 22%, the lowest it's been in a long time. I think for Gio Gonzalez to be successful this year, he has to go back to striking out guys. Forget about this ground ball stuff. Be effectively wild. Let your hair grow. Let your fastball grow, and do your thing.
Bryce Harper doing his thing. Couple of home runs in spring training. Daniel Murphy's in the lineup today. So it's the Braves and the Nats, a couple of pretty good NL East rivals. Easter eggs and base hits here at the ballpark today. Kids are all decked out. Fun day for them to get to go to the ball yard. I bet they found some eggs this morning. There's a future broadcaster. He's in the wind tunnel down there, but he's going to get that lineup in his book no matter what. And he is ready. And it's a pretty good Nats lineup we'll show you. 1/2 inning from now. 81 here. Winds from the south-southeast at 13. Pretty muggy. It is big-time muggy here, 62%. And here's the Braves lineup. They're hitting .275 this spring. Kelly Johnson, one of their experienced guys. He and Jeff Francoeur sort of coming back home to the Braves. Johnson, .241 with 3 RBIs this spring. He's a guy that's done some damage against the Nats. And fortunately, they left the #1 damage guy, Freddie Freeman, back in Lake Buena Vista today. So here's Gio. It's his 5th start of the spring. He has a .277 ERA down here.
Yeah, two-seam fastball in the low to mid-90s. Curveball changeup to go with it. Last year at his best ground ball rate at 53.8%. His lowest strikeout rate at 22.3%. But we talked about in the Oakland card, he's the wild card in this rotation. He has a good year. It's going to be good things for the Nats.
The hitter is a former Nat, Emilio Bonifacio. Switch hitter on the right side. Mike Maddox is going to join us with a live interview. It'll be FP and my chance to chat with our new pitching coach. Bonifacio to the right side, ball tailing away from Bryce Harper into foul ground.
And that's defense behind Gio. For our last broadcast down here from Vieira, Worth, Revere, Harper the outfield, Ryan Drew left side, Murphy Zimmerman right side, and Wilson Ramos behind the plate.
There's Ben Revere. Michael A. Taylor having a good spring. By the way, Taylor is part of a split squad that's playing behind Yusmeiro Petit down in Port St. Lucie today against the Mets. Danny Espinosa's down there. Anthony Rendon is on that squad. But most of the big guns are in the lineup here in Vieira. Bonifacio. He was a Nat back in 2008. They got him in the deal that sent Big John Roush out to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Bonifacio hit .248 with 12 RBIs in 41 games. And then the Nats traded him plus a couple of other minor league guys for Scott Olson and Josh Willingham back in November of 2008. It's amazing how long ago that is now. Oh, yeah. Bonifacio's hung in there over the years with the Marlins, the Blue Jays, the Royals, the Cubs, and last year the White Sox. 2-2 pitch. And the other way, he can be pesky. Likes to put the bat on the ball, move it around, and take off running. Ed Hickox has the assignment behind the plate. And then rotating around the bases are Jeff Nelson, Laz Diaz, and Manny Gonzalez. Busted bat on that swing. Nats, by the way, are 16-4 in spring training with a couple of ties. The only better record in all of baseball. The Diamondbacks 20-4. And here in Florida, the Blue Jays are 15-5. They don't have many ties in Arizona because the weather's almost perfect every day. Very few rainouts out there.
So if the weather's good, you don't tie?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm in.
I've learned that over the years.
All right.
2-2. Bonifacio's going to have a long at bat here to start the game. You learn something new every day, don't you?
I didn't know that the weather dictated the score. Gio over the years is a Nat pitcher while I get it back together here. 21-8 in 2012. I believe he was third in the Cy Young, and the weather was good that whole year.
It was. What a great breaking ball. Bonifacio caught looking. Dropped it in from outside for the first out of the game.
Pretty good curveball right there from Gio Gonzalez. Out front, on top, late break. Bonifacio gave up on it. And that's how this one starts. Strikeout looking. Good pitch.
Yeah, that's good for Gio. 12 walks in 13 innings coming into today. That's his 8th strikeout. Here's Gordon Beckham. Over from the White Sox as well. Pass ball away. Beckham hit just .209 with Chicago last year.
So Gio Gonzalez has been working keeping his head on the target, so we'll keep an eye on that today. If you remember in his delivery, when he has that pause at the top, when he comes to his turn and his leg kicks at the highest, he used to look kind of down at his knee. Watch him right here. Keep his eyes on the target from there on. So he's getting that thing out of the way a little bit earlier than normal, but he used to pick up his target late. Let's see if there's a difference. Right there, see him look up and get his target. His eyes are on the catcher's glove, Wilson Ramos' glove, a lot longer than they used to be. Watch, he gets it out of the way there. Little pause, pick up the target. And his delivery looks a lot more deliberate to me, a lot more slow, and a lot more under control. And maybe that's Mike Maddox's influence on trying to repeat his mechanics. Gio's been a guy that's had trouble repeating his mechanics at times and keeping that arm slot consistent.
3-1 pitch. Fastball, he gets the call, and Beckham was a third of the way to first base, and he's got to come all the way back. Some Braves fans below us not happy with the call. Borderline. Good frame by Wilson Ramos. Oops.
He was convinced that was ball 4.
Beckham 296 this spring. Hits one hard to left. Worth going back, and it is just out of here. It's only about a 5-foot wall out there, and he hooked one through the wind. His first of the spring to put the Braves on top.
That might be a thank you very much, Ed Hickox, for calling strike 2. That ball was kind of down the way, and he went out there and hooked it. Did you see the location of that pitch on the outer half? Maybe a little more elevated than Gio would liked it, but he had to throw a strike in a 3-2 count. Beckham delivers, and the wind blowing out to left here, which is odd in this ballpark. Usually blows out to right.
He hit 6 homers in 100 games for the White Sox last year. Here's Jeff Francoeur making his return to the Braves. Of course, he's a local Atlanta guy. Having a solid spring at 286 with a home run. Deep in the hole, Brendan Ryan, outstanding shortstop. And he makes that play with a strong throw for the second out.
Well, when you're on the bubble trying to make that last bench spot, every little thing counts in spring training. And this is the worst week of the year for guys on the bubble because you're just wondering, am I going to make the team? Brendan Ryan have a really nice spring training for Dusty Baker, hitting .385, known for his defense. And you see him going in the hole right there, standing up. Strong throw right on the money. Nice play. Very nice play.
With 2 outs, bases empty. Nick Swisher trying to make a comeback from a rough season for him. We know he's a much better hitter than the 198 with Cleveland, the 195 with Atlanta last year. 263 this spring with 4 batted in. Up the middle. That's the second baseman over there, Daniel Murphy. That's had him played to pull. And then some. So Ben Revere will lead off in a moment. 12 hits, hitting .375 this spring.
There's a lot to see.
With Ben Revere leading off, the Nats are a contact team, putting the ball in play and scoring some runs. 146 runs this spring. And then there's Bryce, and with Murphy in between. And Bryce starting to heat things up a little bit. 4 extra base hits. Now he's 11 for 32. Zimmerman, Worth, Ramos, a powerful right-handed threesome in the middle. And then Stephen Drew, Brendan Ryan down at the bottom. The pitchers are hitting. We'll see Gio get some at-bats. Here's Ulysse Chassin, who is 2-1 in 5 games, 4 starts last year with Arizona.
Yeah, 4 teams in the past 2 years for Chassin. Fastball, slider, cutter, curveball, change. So 5-pitch guy. Throws a fastball half of the time. It averages 89 miles an hour, and he is looking for that 4th spot in the Braves starting rotation. There's been some competition, and he's had a good spring.
Yeah, numbers pretty solid. ERA 3.18.
Braves rotation. Julio Teheran's their number 1, 25-year-old, probably pitching opening day against the Nats. Bud Norris looks like he's going to be their number 2. Matt Whistler, their number 3. Chassin might be their 4th starter, and then Mike Fultonavich looks to be their 5th, if you were wondering.
We're always conscious of those Braves. In a rebuilding mode, they'll be moving into a new ballpark at this time next year. Revere puts a charge into that one, but the wind takes care of that. Bonifacio the catch for the first out of the game.
Defense for the Braves behind Yolis Chassin. Born, Bonifacio, Francoeur the outfield. Camargo, Beckham left side. Johnson, Swisher right side. And Tyler Flowers behind the plate.
Next up, Daniel Murphy. 9 hits, 37 at bats, 5 RBIs, hitting .243. Chassin, by the way, in the big leagues, career record of 40 and 49 in 7 years.
Daniel Murphy having a talk with Ed Hickox about strike one.
He got a pitch to pull. Well hit right field. That one will one-hop the wall, and Murphy, who's known as a doubles machine, has a 2-bagger with 1 out. A lot of days in spring training here. That ball's way out of here, but as FP mentioned, wind blowing in from right and kind of crossed to the left side.
Foot down early, fastball in. Daniel Murphy had his say after strike one. He definitely had his say after strike two. A double down the right field corner, and there goes a no-hitter Daniel Murphy style. Swing. That ball might have been off the plate in. Maybe we can see that if we get a chance one more time, and I'll show you. He's starting to lock in. That foot was down early. He was on time, and he caught the ball out in front.
There's Bryce Harper with a chance to tie the game right now. He'll flip that one out of play left side.
Talking to some of the Mets people, that was the biggest difference at Daniel Murphy last year. He was always a guy that tried to fillet the ball to left. He would be off the plate. A lot of his hits were to left field, line drives. Last year he got on top of the plate, and he started being more aggressive on the ball in the inner half and pulling it with authority. So instead of just being a singles double guy the other way, he was covering the outer half and really hammering the pitch on the inside. If you remember, that used to be the book on Murphy. Pound him in. Wasn't the case in 2015.
Yeah, can't wait to see a whole season of him.
Yeah.
1-1 to Harper. So evidently the mantra for today is disagree with an umpire on a pitch and do damage on the very next one. Beckham the homer, Murphy the double. Bryce hitting .344. One ball, 2 strikes with Ryan Zimmerman next year in the bottom of the first.
But when you look at the Nats lineup this year, I mean, find me a better offensive lineup on paper right now than the Nats have. What they've done down here in spring training, scoring almost more than 7 runs a game. Yeah, you got speed at the top. You have contact this year that you haven't had in the past with Revere and Murphy.
I love the combination, especially with what these first 2 hitters, Revere and Murphy, bring to this ball club. It's a good take by Bryce. Thing was a strike for a while. Diving down and in, 2-2. He's hit 2 homers, driven in 5 runs, stolen 2 bases in spring training.
But for me, the guy on deck is the key. Bryce Harper's going to take his walks, and Ryan Zimmerman's a guy that obviously knows how to drive in runs. He's going to have so many opportunities to do so this year because of the guy hitting in front of him. If he's healthy, this lineup will click. And he's going to be. And I shouldn't have said if he's healthy, because I'm saying that way too much. Maybe you need to get a fine jar for me saying that.
It's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
You know, and Bryce will benefit from Zimmerman, too, if Ryan plays 150 or more games, because with that kind of guy behind him, Bryce might hit 45 homers this year and drive in over 100.
I still think teams are going to be wary. I mean, when you go into a meeting, Carp, you're going to say, circle Bryce. He's not going to beat us. Exactly. He's the MVP. So there's going to be so many opportunities for Ryan Zimmerman, and Dusty Baker loves the way his approach is with runners in scoring position. We've seen him just take the RBI, the simple RBI, air quotes, simple RBI, when the infield's back, runner on third, less than 2. You know, he cashes in every single time. So with Bryce taking his walks and not forcing the issue in front of him, Ryan has a chance to drive in 100 runs.
2-2. Harper up the middle. Kind of a slow line drive. Murphy had to wait for it to go through. He will be sent home by Bob Henley, and he is safe. Great slide under the tag. Harper ends up at second, and the game is tied. Good base running by Murphy, and Mr. Henley, always aggressive over there third, but in a smart way.
Yeah, a good read by Murphy. But I think when you see that swing by Bryce Harper, that's the evolution of Bryce as a hitter. You know, maybe when he was 19 and 20, he was a swinger. Now he's a hitter. You saw that approach, hands inside the baseball, going back up the middle, what all good RBI guys do with runners in scoring position. Didn't try to roll over that baseball and pull it to first base. Fought to get his hands inside. And even though it wasn't hit hard, it's a base hit up the middle because of his approach, hands in the right slot.
Ryan Zimmerman, 31 spring at bats, 8 hits, 2 home runs. He's driven in 8. And that is headed to left field for a hit. One hopper. Harper being sent by Henley, knowing that Bourne does not have a strong arm. And the Nats lead 2-1.
And a lot of those RBIs for Ryan Zimmerman this year should be in the form of Bryce Harper with how much he's on base via the hit, the walk, however he gets on. And just kind of backing us up right here, showing how he knows how to hit with runners in scoring position. Almost like the concentration level goes to a whole new high for Ryan Zimmerman when there's RBIs at stake. And a nice swing by the Nats first baseman.
3 consecutive base hits. Jason Worth starting to come alive here in spring training after 29 at bats so far. Homer, 4 RBIs.
Jason said he's feeling good at the plate when his timing is there, and he's feeling like he is right now. He likes to swing at the first pitch. You know, generally speaking, he likes to go deep into counts, but when everything's where it needs to be in spring training, he likes to get that first hittable fastball and get on it. Like I said, he likes to take that first fastball right down the middle and work a count.
I don't blame him for taking that one. That thing was diving and heavy sink and low part of the zone there.
You don't want that early.
.88. It looked a little quicker than that. And the count's 0-2.
2 taters shy of 200. It's a big number.
And Jason will start the 16 season with 701 runs batted in. 13th year coming up. Big curveball on 0-2 and he couldn't get to it.
Out in front of the curveball, a couple of painted fastballs to 0-2 count. Good pitch.
Wilson Ramos. Hitting .370. 10 hits, 3 homers, 5 RBIs. First pitch curveball that time, inside edge.
Part of spring training, if you're a hitter, it's time to lock in. Whatever has happened up to this point is irrelevant. And when you start to get to the last third of camp, the last week of camp, you want your timing to be where it needs to be because there's some off days coming up.
And he'll pull that one to the left side. Off the glove of Gordon Beckham. He knew he still had time for the out at first. Good first inning for the Nats. Murphy double, Harper and Zimmerman RBI singles.
Mets have taken a 2-1 lead here at Space Coast Stadium as we head top two. Gio Gonzalez out for his second inning of work. It's been some good, some bad for Gio early in spring training, and we know how little spring training numbers mean. But I asked Dusty Baker earlier today what he wants to see Gio work on the remainder of spring training. He said that he definitely sees the desire from his left-hander. It's just a matter of concentration. And a drill that Mike Maddox, the new pitching coach, has had Gio do is he's challenged Gio to throw a certain number of quality pitches in a row during his bullpen sessions. Dusty says it's all starting in practice for Gio. Try and get him into good habits in those bullpen sessions, establish consistency, and then translate it into the games.
Nothing at all wrong with that as we go to the top of the second inning. And the ball is on the outside corner. Quality pitch. This is Tyler Flowers, listed as the Braves' backup catcher behind A.J. Przinsky. Hit 239 for the White Sox last year.
Are you keeping track of quality pitches now? It's 2 in a row.
I know. I like it. Well, yeah, I know that in the past you've talked about that hitting coach thing. You know, a new voice, a new idea, new wrinkle here and there. Very creative stuff from Mike Maddox to take, in essence, what you do on the practice range and take it out to the tee box.
Yeah. Almost in essence, training Gio Gonzalez to focus on every single pitch and not take one off. Tanner Roark's talked about that down here in camp, too.
The other way, diving stop Zimmerman. He will lead Gio to the bag. The glove has always been magical, whichever side of the infield it's been on.
I think that was a play that Ryan Zimmerman struggled with last year in the sense that, do I go for that ball or do I not go for that ball? When you're near to first base, the ball to your right is the one that you always in your head say, is my second baseman have it or should I go for it? You see with a little experience under his belt right there, no hesitation, a couple steps into a dive and a perfect feed to Gio Gonzalez with the hair flowing in the wind going to first. Talked to him about his hair today. I said, how long we working here? How long is that hair? He said, about a year.
Wow. Well, didn't they put up a picture of Aladdin next to his locker and it says it's time to get a haircut when your hair looks like a cartoon character. But, hey.
I like it.
If he wins 15 to 20 games, he can wear whatever he wants.
I think the most important thing is his fiance likes it, and that's all that really matters.
Kelly Johnson takes a fastball inside. Johnson with the Braves last year, traded to the Mets, and now back with Atlanta. 275, 62 games for the Braves, and then 250 in 49 games for New York. Might have busted his bat on that 2-0 pitch. Zimmerman this time near the line, 2 outs.
I just really like what I'm seeing from Gio Gonzalez and the adjustments he's made. This is the first time I've seen him this spring. And how deliberate his delivery is, how under control his delivery is, how he's staying over the mound and not really jumping out there and picking up his target way earlier than he has in the past. So if we can all, I mean, I'm sure Nats fans are noticing what I'm noticing, how slow his windup is, and watch him pick up the target right there, under control, and then come at you hard at the end. I mean, it's almost like a complete overhaul as far as his approach as a pitcher. A guy that used to look down, his windup was quicker. Look how slow and deliberate he is. There used to be a pause at the top, if you remember last year, when he turned his back toward the hitter, there'd be a little pause at the top. Watch him just roll right through it. There's no pause at the top. It's way smoother. He's getting the ball out in front. I'm really liking what I'm seeing as far as an adjustment standpoint from Gio Gonzalez this year.
A strikeout, 4 straight ground ball outs, and now a routine line drive to Daniel Murphy. And Gio looking good despite the home run through 2.
egg hunt, and you missed the first inning. Daniel Murphy hit that Easter egg right on the screws. A double. There goes the no-hitter. Daniel Murphy, a doubles machine, started the party. And then Bryce Harper with a nice piece of hit and stayed inside that baseball. Squibbing it up the middle. That scored Daniel Murphy. And then Ryan Zimmerman crushes an Easter egg to left, and that scores Bryce Harper. And that's where we're at. 2-1 Nats.
Gio Gonzalez, 2 innings, 29 pitches, 20 strikes. With that in mind, as Stephen Drew steps in, Mike Maddox, welcome to the Nats. Bob and FP upstairs. It's our first chance to officially talk to you on the air, and welcome, sir.
Well, thanks, man. Great to be here, and no better day than Easter Sunday.
All right, tell us about Gio, because we know that you've worked with him on a few things, and FP has noted how smooth he looks in his first 2 innings so far today. What do you see, and what do you see as potential with this guy who's already been a 20-game winner once?
Well, you know, Gio's got great stuff, and that's a credit to him. And, you know, that's why you win 20 games. You don't stumble into that. You got to have some stuff to go with it. And we're just pounding it. Every bullpen we're adding one thing or another. And he's taking the bullpens out to the mound. And our last bullpen, we talked about coming down the hill a little bit softer, letting the mound create the power. And he's really doing that well today. And I think the command that we're seeing is better than it has been in the past. And, you know, 20 out of 29 pitches per strike are pretty good.
You know, Mike, it looks like he's really slowed down his delivery to me. There was a pause at the top in his turn last year that's not there. It's kind of smoothed out. And it looks like he's also picking up the target a lot earlier than in the past. Is that the case?
Yeah, ever since January, we talked about when we played long toss there at Nationals Park was keeping your eyes on your target. He wants to do a little head bob for timing where he looks down, but, you know, he makes sure that he's looking at the glove before he goes down the hill. And when he does that, he's able to execute.
And is that so he can repeat his mechanics more consistently and his arm slot stays where it needs to be?
That's the bottom line, that we do the same thing every time, all the time, and all our pitches look alike. So he's buying in, and he's working hard at it. And I hope that he continues to blossom in this game like he's doing, because then he'll really remember what worked well for him.
3-2 to Stephen Drew, who's hitting 300 in spring training. We saw him hit a long home run here the other night against the Yankees. That's a breaking ball that surprises him from outside as it drops in for the first out. We're visiting with the Nats' new pitching coach, Mike Maddox. Mike, a lot of success in Texas, a bunch of playoff appearances, 2 World Series with the Rangers. And I know everybody talks about what a difficult ballpark that is in which to pitch because the ball flies. What philosophy do you bring from over there up to D.C.?
Well, pretty much it's standard cliches. You know, you keep the ball down and get the ball on the ground because ground balls don't go for homers. You know, that's the easy one. But getting guys to believe in themselves, understanding themselves, and being true to who they are and learning themselves. And that's what I try to do, is help them learn themselves. And we pitch to our strengths and we attack batters' weaknesses at times. But overall, we got to do what we do best.
Yeah, I know you're big on teaching these guys that every pitch is important. Don't take one pitch off. I saw that Tanner Roark was saying you're really having a positive influence on him where, you know, maybe you take off one pitch in a game and it turns out to be a 3-run home run and really bearing down. He's had a tremendous spring. Can you talk about Tanner Roark and maybe how you guys have worked together this spring?
Well, Tanner's kind of an easy guy, man. You know, he's so self-motivated and he's so focused in what he's doing that he just falls into place. And a lot of things we talk about is just reinforcement of things that he already does and things that he's done in the past. And, you know, one thing you always notice with him is his focus. He's a great focuser.
He reminds me of somebody that you know very well at times on the mound. Your brother. I've said that on the air before because he's such a good athlete on the mound. He gets people thinking with him, and they're always thinking wrong, and he throws that front hip sinker. When that front hip sinker is on in the past, Mike, that's been his pitch. That's been whether he's had a successful outing or not.
I tell you what, that's a pretty good out pitch for all right-handers, but more importantly for Tanner's that he has the ability to make that pitch. It's one thing to understand what it does and how it works, but to execute that pitch is the big ticket item, and Tanner's able to do that.
Hey, Mike, 2 outs in the pitcher's batting, so we'll make this quick.
You lucked out.
Have you ever been handed 2 starters like Steven Strasburg and Max Scherzer before?
I have not of that caliber. Been fortunate to have some guys that had career years together, and that's a lot of fun, and that's how you go to win pennants and go to World Series. But 2 guys with that type of ability is something special.
By the way, the stash and the flavor saver in midseason form right now.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
Locked it in. You knew it was a TV game today. That looks great.
Just for men.
That a baby.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Gio, and he's going to hit the ball pretty well out to center. That ball is on the ground. Gets behind Emilio Bonifacio. Take it easy going into second, buddy. And he goes in standing up with a 2-out double.
Look at you working with the hitters, with the pitchers hitting. Locking him in. Mike Maddox, that's all you right there.
Hey, that's what I tell him, man. In BP, if you can hit me, you can hit anybody.
Hey, that's good practice having a former pitcher throwing these guys. But I mean, on a serious note, how much can you help yourself as a starting pitcher, and have you imparted that wisdom onto these guys, how important their slot in the order is?
Absolutely, man. Anytime you produce offensively, the other team has to play catch-up because they're really not counting on you to help them out offensively, you know. So you turn the lineup over, you get more at-bats for the guys batting 2, 3, and 4, so very important, man.
There's Ben Revere, who hit a fly ball to center first time.
I have to work on our turns at first base, though, a little bit. That was... I mean, hey, he took a left, which is good, instead of a right.
Uncharted waters, man. He's getting better.
Yeah, the crazy thing about the National League, got to start hitting the pitchers last week and a half or so of spring training. So here they are up there taking their hacks.
Yeah, all about 9-hole production.
And sounded like a busted bat.
But Gio Gonzalez's been a 180-inning guy, Mike, and for him to incorporate getting every bunt down and being able to hit might extend that, right? I mean, that keeps you in the game longer if you don't have to pinch hit for guys.
That's right. If you can handle the baton and the manager wants to give you that extra at bat, that's good for 2 extra innings possibly. So the more you can help yourself offensively, the more it's going to help you overall. And you go deeper into games, you get more wins that way.
Hey, Mike, would you have a few seconds left? Quickly, your thoughts on the bullpen and what you see developing out there?
Well, coming into spring training, I think the bullpen was one of our pieces. The whole staff was pretty well taken care of. You know, there was possible vacancies, possible competing for spots, and we've had some guys that stepped up and really put their name on the map there. You know, Matt Bellal kind of came out he was a late sign, but he's come in and thrown the ball really well. Of course, we'll go Pap on the end, and you got Blake Trinan and Felipe Ribeiro getting to him. Sean Kelly was a free agent signing. He's going to be there. And Yus Petit has just been Mr. Everything, and he'll be a great utility guy for us. So we got Martin Perez, or Oliver Perez, rather, that free agent signing. So made some good signings, some good additions, and some guys are knocking on the door trying to get their foot in that staff.
And all of us, because he's one of our old friends, are rooting for Sean Burnett.
Absolutely. He's had a great spring, and he keeps going out there hanging donuts, and that's what it's all about. So he's one of those guys that are giving us tough decisions, and tough decisions are good things to have.
Mike, thanks so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to get to know you since December, and can't wait for opening day next week.
Well, I appreciate it. We're looking forward to ringing that bell.
All right, Mike Maddox, new pitching coach of the Nats after 8 years with the Texas Rangers, and I think I talked about this a couple of weeks ago on one of our first telecasts. They did a study, and the 8 years Mike Maddox was the pitching coach of the Texas Rangers were a whole lot better than the 8 years before he got there. And that place is a launching pad down in Arlington, Texas. 2-2 to Revere. This guy will extend some at-bats with 2 outs this year. He's already fouled off a handful of pitches.
And Mike was my former teammate in Montreal and Los Angeles, and he gets it. And he was always a very cerebral pitcher, always helping his teammates too. It wasn't just the pitchers. He would help hitters. If he saw something on the side in your swing, he would come up and say, hey, if I was facing you, this is what I would do. So not just a pitching guy, but a baseball guy, and a wonderful addition to the staff.
Gio at second on his feet out there for quite a while after the 2-out double. And Revere's going to really extend this at bat now out to a full count.
Yeah, with Revere and Murphy back-to-back, you're going to see a lot of that this year. We're fouling off pitch after pitch, going deep into counts. Pitch count killers.
(3-2), and there he goes again.
Love it.
Ben Revere, 298 for the Phillies last year. Stole 24 bases, 96 games. 319 for the Blue Jays after going over there at the deadline. 7 stolen bases and 9 attempts.
And got called out looking on the worst strike 3 call ever to end the playoffs last year. Wasn't even close. I didn't even know Ben Revere, and I was frustrated at home for him.
9th pitch of the at-bat, hit out to left, and that's in front of Michael Bourne. And no way Gio's going to get sent on that. So how about the Nats? With Gio the double, he was behind in the count 0-2, and then Revere behind in the count. Drops a single in the left, and Ben Revere's 13 for 34 this spring.
That is a quality at bat. Fouling off tough pitch after tough pitch and a 3-2 count. Finally getting something you can semi-handle and putting the bat on it, putting it in play, and a base hit. You put the ball in play, good things happen.
Chassin missed off the plate inside. Last inning with one out, Daniel Murphy hit it nearly out of the ballpark to right field.
See how close Murphy is to the plate? In 2014, he wasn't that close to the plate. Last year with the Mets, they moved him on the plate a little bit more. He'd look for pitches to drive instead of just hit to left field. Got on his legs more. If you remember him playing the Nats in 2014, he was standing up a little higher in his stance, but on his legs more, on the plate more, looking to do damage.
Had a big sound to it, but the breeze is going to keep it in.
It's a good swing.
Yes, it is. Last year, he had half the number of homers he had in the regular season in postseason play.
There's a lot to see.
On Jose Lobaton. With the 2016 Flex Plan, the choice is yours. Pick out 4 games, starting at just $80, and we'll throw in a free Nats grill item. Visit Nationals.com/flex to buy your Flex Plan today. Check out Daniel Murphy's swing, 2-1 Nats as we go to the top of the third. I know it was tough to focus on the promo. Watch the no stride right here. And just looking for the pitch in to drive. And that's what I'm talking about. He knew he just missed it. But not a lot to that swing. The head is perfectly still. I think in the past he might have been trying to fight that ball to left center field, but now he's learned how to drive the ball, and that's kind of the evolution of a hitter. Maybe you come into the big leagues as a sprayer, you learn you have power, you learn your swing. And I think Daniel Murphy, a completely different hitter than he used to be 2 or 3 years ago.
3 homers, division series, 4 in the LCS, 14 during the regular season. So who knows what Murphy has up his sleeve for this season. Here's Gio about to throw his 30th pitch. Michael Bourne, the hitter. Bourne with Cleveland and Atlanta last year hit .246, .221 respectively, 30 RBIs, 17 stolen bases. Been around the big leagues now since '06 when he broke in with the Phillies.
Bourne identity.
Yeah, the Braves lineup is a lineup you can't take lightly. They Ender Inciarte probably going to be leading off. He's a 10 home run, 30 stolen base kind of guy. Eric Ibar hitting second at shortstop. Of course, Freddie Freeman, who Nats fans know all too well.
Strikeout number 2.
Yeah, Przinsky hitting fourth. Nick Markakis in right. Hector Olivera in left field. Garcia at third base. Combination of a couple players at second. So, you know, even though everybody's saying the Braves are a couple years away, that's a lineup that can throw some hits at you in a hurry.
Yeah.
So these are teams that you can't take lightly.
And their pitching will dictate whether they can stay in those games. And I'm with you. I think they'll score runs. Ulysses Chacin, a 180 career hitter with a home run, 15 RBIs. So guys getting a taste of what a National League game's really like here at the end of spring training with the pitchers batting. Out of play over the Nats dugout right side.
I might be wrong, but I remember this guy being able to hit.
Yeah. Well, we did see him in Colorado.
Right. So,
yeah, 180 career average. That's good for a pitcher.
I think that's good for anybody.
2-2. Four o'clock in the afternoon, a week from tomorrow in Atlanta to open things up. 3-2 now. And here's where Gio, even with the opposing pitcher up, doesn't want to take any pitches off, as Mike Maddox says. A lot of bad innings have started with a walk to the pitcher, even with one out. And he'll get him on a pop-up. When Brendan Ryan talks, you can hear him all over the infield. I've never heard a chattier guy around the batting cage. So you know when he's calling a pop fly, everybody knows what's going on. Good defender. Our next game will be Friday at Nationals Park, the Minnesota Twins. Twins on Monday, or rather Friday evening, and then Saturday afternoon. The Nats will leave right after the game on Saturday, head for Atlanta, have a workout Sunday, and get it going for real Monday afternoon.
Then an off day Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows after one game you're beat and you need a day off.
Exactly. No, that's for the ticket office, actually. They are exhausted. And then there will be a rare Friday game off after the Nats, Friday day off after the Nats play at home on Thursday. But then only one off day the rest of the month.
The last opening day at Turner Field, Braves 920 and 618 career at Turner Field. So they've won their share of ball games in that ballpark, and then they'll move to the new ballpark in 2017. And I'm hearing things like it's basically an inclusive village with a hotel, a mall, restaurants, all kinds of stuff at a baseball field in the middle.
1-1 pitch. Two-hopper, Brendan Ryan. Bonifacio can fly. Ryan plenty of time, and Gio has retired 8 in a row since the Gordon Beckham home run.
All right, a little teaching moment for younger players at home. I got it practice. And a lot of times you'll hear guys say it once, and that's not enough. But Brendan Ryan last inning, we're going to let you listen to it. This is how you're supposed to do it. Let's take a listen. How many times does he say, I got it? That is perfect for younger players. You can't say it enough. You can't say it loud enough. You know, the little "I got it" and you're being timid is going to cause a collision. So when you say it like Brendan Ryan just did for younger players, you can't say it enough. Wave your arms, be emphatic, then you don't have to worry about anybody crashing into you. That was good, guys. Thanks.
All right, here's Bryce Harper, bottom of the third, and a guy who's glad he doesn't have to pitch against Bryce is with our Dan Coco.
Thank you very much, Bob. Steven Strasburg joins me now. Steven, I swear I was going to ask this question before Gio Gonzalez dropped that double into center field. You guys do hitting practice from time to time on the side fields. Got some hitters in this rotation. Rank for me, in your opinion, the top hitting pitchers on this Nationals roster.
It's a tough call. You know, I would say Tanner's up there. I'd say Joe, he's got some potential. Gio, just when he makes contact, you know, much like Max, it just seems to hit it where they're not. You know, they don't really hit it with too much authority, but I would say I got the most power in the group, but it just hasn't translated yet. So.
We'll wait for that. Now, Gio has the 3 home runs career. You've got 1, but you've also got the Silver Slugger on your mantle at home.
Yeah, I just keep telling myself that, you know, they treat me like another hitter now, so I have to see all their stuff, and they just kind of get served up fastball. So at least I've earned some pitchers' respect. There you go. Work some counts, foul some pitches off.
Now, 2015 was kind of an up and down year for you. You started out with the ankle injury, and that kind of affected you in a number of different ways. When you were healthy, though, down the stretch, you really finished strong. You talked in that stretch about how you were learning things about yourself, both as a pitcher and as a person. What did you kind of take away from that? What was the main thing that you learned?
Just how important it is to just kind of have that short-term memory and, you know, knowing that, you know, tough times will pass, but, you know, tough people stay. So, you know, just trying to stay consistent with my approach and, you know, trusting that, you know, it's all going to figure itself out in the end.
Is that something that you will try and continue to reflect back on? Maybe if you do scuffle in a start or you go through a bad stretch, is that something you can fall back on?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, everybody's going to have their bad games. I think last year was just I was having a significant amount of more than what I was used to. But, you know, once I was able to kind of take a step back and dissect, you know, what was happening, I was able to kind of learn a little bit more about, you know, how I tick, and, you know, having something like that wasn't really related to my arm, just helped me realize how important, you know, your whole body is when you throw a baseball, and it's not just necessarily if your arm's feeling good that you're going to be all right. You know, a little ankle injury or you know, knees bothering you, something like that, you know, that can throw off your mechanics entirely.
Now, on that note, on the mechanics note, that was something that unfortunately, beyond the physical aspects, kind of lingered. Where do you feel like your mechanics are at this point in spring? Do you feel like you're in a good place on that front?
Yeah, I think everything's coming out good. You know, I'm not trying to look too far ahead, though. You know, I think there's always something to improve on. There's always, you know, ways to get better. So, you know, I don't try and read into the mechanics too much, but, you know, I would say as of right now, you know, the ball's coming out good and it's consistent. So I'm just trying to stay where I'm at.
You had worked with one pitching coach your whole career, as Tim shoots one out to right. One pitching coach your whole career in Steve McCatty. Now you got a new one in Mike Maddox. Through your time working with him over these last handful of weeks, what have been some of the techniques or kind of the points that you guys have been working on? What are you picking up from him early on?
Well, I think, you know, he brings a wealth of knowledge, not only the mental side of the game, but physical side too. You know, he's had some good little keys to focus on mechanically. But the scouting report, the way you attack hitters, you know, I think it's been really good. Just trying to, you know, figure out exactly, you know, why I'm successful and, you know, little things to focus on throughout the course of the game and making those adjustments faster.
Nothing against Cat, really good pitching coach, but how much can sometimes just a new voice and hearing things from a different perspective give you something that you can work on?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot from Cat, and you know, the time that I had with him was special, and it's something that I'll always look back on and with fond memories. You know, I think Mike, you know, has a track record everywhere he goes. You know, he gets the most out of his guys, and you know, I'm excited just to kind of, you know, see what he has to offer, especially from the scouting side of it. You know, those are the things that we haven't really dove in too much at this point in spring training. But once we start facing teams over and over again, it's going to be good to kind of, pick his brain and see, what kind of adjustments that need to be made to, get big league hitters out.
All right, now I'll wrap with this one. We've lost some good golfers on this team over the last couple of years. Clip is gone. Craig Stammen's gone. I asked you to rank the hitting pitchers. Where do you rank the golfers now on the team? Are you maybe at the top of the list?
I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I probably am, and that's not necessarily a good thing. It's pretty slim pickings here. I think Max, he talks a big game, but I've seen him play, so he's definitely not on the, Tyler Clippard, Craig Stammen level. So
we got to get him. We got to get Bryce. Some of these other guys, some reps out on the course, build them up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Get out there, have a good time, and I think if you play well on the golf course, it translates onto the baseball field too.
Thanks for the time, Steven. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, back up to you.
Thank you, Dan. Bases loaded, nobody out. Wilson Ramos, the hitter. That was a hit for Worth. That Johan Camargo threw wide from short. And now the count goes to 2-1. So here are your runners. Bryce Harper, who, by the way, is spring training on base percentage, is now around .450. After his walk, Zimmerman the base hit to right, and then Worth pulling one into the shortstop hole. Nats have out-hit the Braves 7-1 and lead 2-1. Into the pitcher's glove, and there will be not a double play at first. Chacin took a double clutch, and then Swisher couldn't hold on. So the Nats are lucky for something like that could turn into a triple play.
Well, Chacin had to take inventory after he caught that. That's why he double clutched on the throw to first base. I think Nick Swisher was shocked as well. But watch how hard Wilson Ramos hits this. Let's listen. Look out. I mean, that's pure athletic ability. A lot of times when you see a ball hit back to the pitcher, the ball catches them, but Chacin actually went for that line drive. It was a bullet, kind of panic mode right there. Swisher might have taken that for granted, threw like a two-finger changeup over there to Nick. Pretty good swing by Wilson Ramos, but a better play by Jhoulys Chacin.
Stephen Drew, bases loaded, one out, and he goes up hacking. Tell you, Wilson Ramos, this whole thing following the LASIK surgery, he is seeing the ball, and who knows what he's capable of this year.
Yeah, I would rank seeing the ball
right up there.
Yeah, right up there for a catcher and a hitter.
On both sides.
Probably tough to play if you couldn't see the ball.
Well, he was seeing it, but I don't know how many he was seeing.
Yeah.
And Drew will take a high fastball, count even 1-1.
The guy had a rough night. We used to yell from the dugout, just hit the one in the middle.
Stephen Drew, last two seasons, they'd have taken him from the Red Sox to the Yankees, and now the Nats. Not hitting for some of the higher averages he was earlier in his career, but the pop is still there. We saw an example of that here Wednesday evening. 114 career home runs. Older brothers, J.D. and Tim, who was a pitcher, were the only brothers ever drafted in the first round in the same year. And then Steven was a first rounder with the Diamondbacks in '04. Breaking ball away.
See, this is where Chacin needs a strikeout. But when you talk about his percentage of balls put into play that were in the strike zone last year, 92% of the strikes he threw were put into play last year. So not a strikeout guy, obviously a pitch to contact guy, but many times it was hard contact.
Big curveball. Lots of drop on that. 2 outs. It'll be up to Ryan. Third strikeout for Chacin. Drew twice. Space Coast Stadium in Vieira. Happy Easter. If you're late joining us after morning worship or a wonderful brunch somewhere, we welcome you to Nats baseball right here on Masson. It's our last Florida spring training game. The Nats' last scheduled Vieira game ever is tomorrow when the Marlins are here. Be breaking camp here, middle of the week, and then 2 games in D.C., which is kind of rare. Usually we play a Saturday exhibition game, but this year, Friday and Saturday.
I want that tiki bar in my backyard. I mean, if they're not going to use it, I won't put that thing in my backyard. I mean, there's going to be an A-ball team here, but yeah, usually you take seats with you from a ballpark.
Well, you better rent your own 18-wheeler.
That's going in my backyard. Tiki bar coming with us. How many opens did we do out there? Like at least 2.
Mess up, got to pick up.
There were a few before you got here that were pretty ugly. The concern for the producer was always whoever the analyst was, whether or not he'd make it.
I made it
back to the booth for first pitch.
I made it.
Well, we met some fun folks out there from all different parts of Florida, rooting for all different teams. A lot of folks just like to go to spring training games. They'll go to their team's games and travel and go around to see some of the different ballparks. We have another destination for them soon. That's a breaking ball that gets away right through Tyler Flowers, and Bryce Harper will score. Don't know if that was a cross-up or not, but the leadoff walk helps the Nats plate a run.
Might have lost sight of it. When you talk to players about the backdrop here at Vieira, a lot of times a right-hander throws out of the batting eye. What do I mean by that? They throw to the right of the batter's eye. And if you look from where we're sitting, usually a batter's eye kind of goes back over to where the cameras are in center field, but it stops kind of short of the cameras. So the ball actually comes out of this area right there, and guys lose track of it. That's what happened right there. I mean, Danny Espinosa's on the road today because he's told Dusty Baker he's had trouble picking up the ball here at Space Coast Stadium, and Tyler Flowers just lost that ball.
Pass ball called. 3-1 Nats. Brendan Ryan having a good spring, came in batting .385 with an RBI. Seattle last year, 229 in 47 games. Breaking ball, he gets good wood on it, and that's going to drop in front of Michael Bourne. Here comes Worth behind Zimmerman, and 2 runs more. The Nats lead 5-1, and Brendan Ryan continues his good spring training hitting.
I think during the season in a 2-1 count, this was a 2-2 count, but it was 2-1 previously with Gio Gonzalez on deck. There's no way Freddie Gonzalez pitches to the 8th hole guy, but in spring training, you're working on things, trying to get guys out. Brendan Ryan is allowed to hit, and he's allowed to drive in 2 runs. Just putting it in play. Another example. Doesn't have to be hit hard. Just put it in play and break up the Nats in Florida. They start saving some of these wins and hits for the regular season.
16-4. And then you look at the runs. The Nats have now scored 151 runs and given up 82. Take those numbers during the season: a .289 team batting average and a .332 ERA.
Dusty's son, Darren Baker. If you remember the young Darren Baker with JT Snow grabbing him at home plate in the World Series. He's in town today, sitting right next to the skipper. There he is.
Bat boys need help now and then.
Second baseman at Jesuit High School in Sacramento, one of the powerhouse programs. And he's going to Cal Berkeley, I understand. So,
wow,
pretty good baseball player. And a better kid.
1-1 to Gio.
He's all grown up. I mean, everybody remembers him, JT Snow, grabbing him with one hand and flinging him around at home plate. Now he's a junior in high school.
Dads and sons at the ballpark. Very cool.
It used to be. It used to be cool.
In Chicago.
Gio in the second inning. He's got his helmet on. He's ready to hit. And that ball is hammered to center field. Emilio Bonifacio can't come up with it. Gio Gonzalez hangs it left. The dugout excited for their starting pitcher. And there's a smile we've all grown to love in Washington over the last few years.
And he's going to go 1 for 2. Just not enough juice to get that one by Kelly Johnson. But the Nats swing the bats well. 3 hits, a walk, and it's 5-1.
can do on May 28th. You can celebrate DC's international community with Taste of the World. With a special ticket, enjoy a pregame culinary experience like you've never in your life. You can take home a set of Nationals salt and pepper shakers. Visit nationals.com/special ticket events for a tremendous culinary experience.
Anytime you can sneak culinary into a spring training telecast. September 16th in Atlanta, a couple of years ago. Kevin Franzen had the laser light show going, the music pounding around. Guys were celebrating in Matt Williams' first year, a trip to the playoffs. We show you that because that was at Turner Field.
Bryce with his firefighter hat on. The famous "There is no wrong" pipe to Mass and Dan. She's ready. Call her up. Look at that. She's got her hat on, her basket, baseball basket. We need one of those.
That's very cool.
I want one of those. Baseball Easter basket.
How about 42 pitches, 28 strikes by Gio? Through 3 innings, he's retired 8 in a row, the only blemish on his day. The guy leading off here, Gordon Beckham, with a first inning 1-out home run to left. Beckham's 29 years of age now, slick guy with the glove. His name came up several years ago when the Nats were hunting around for second base talent. 1 ball, 1 strike. And Beckham, another good swing, another good piece of contact. That'll put him well over 300 for the spring with Frank Gore coming up. Starting pitching. So, yeah, Gio had the storybook season in 2012.
Division championship, first.
It's quite a coincidence, isn't it, how that works?
Said Captain Obvious in the booth, but hey, the starting rotation was not as advertised last year. 6th in the league, and I think they're going to get back to that form this year. A couple of no-hitters from that guy. I like that. A lot of times when the ace of your staff is not pitching, he is on the golf course right now. Max Scherzer rooting his teammates on in the dugout. You got to like that.
Tapper by Frank Gore, foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jeff Francoeur robbed of a hit on a very good play deep in the hole by Brendan Ryan. First time up. Francoeur with the Phillies last year, 119 ball games, hit .258. Got a chance to play quite a bit. 326 official at bats. He hit 13 homers, drove in 45. Broke in with the Braves in 05. Then the next 2 years he played 162 games each season. One of the great arms in right field over the last decade and a half.
Hey, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I mean, he loves everybody.
Yeah.
Roll it up.
He rips one. Stand back on an off-speed pitch, and the Braves have 2 hits in a row here in the 4th inning. Next 5 ball games will take us into the regular season. The Twins Friday evening, and then Saturday afternoon, the Braves opening day a week from tomorrow, 4 p.m. Day off Tuesday, night game Wednesday, and then the Marlins will be in D.C.
The greatest day of the year, right there.
Opening day.
Yes. It should be a national holiday. You shouldn't have to have a note to get out of work or to get out of school. And whoever's the sitting president should have to throw out the first pitch at the Nationals game every single year from here on out. It should be in writing, part of the contract.
You issuing an executive order?
I am. the nation's capital, the president should throw out the first pitch every opening day. It's the greatest day of the year. That in the 4th of July game with its 11 a.m. start. But opening day is the greatest day of the year, period. And the president should throw out the first pitch this year. I liked that Eduardo Perez called him out in Cuba the other day. He said, so, it's apparent that you haven't played a lot of baseball growing up.
Wow.
Because I watched your first pitches, and I'm sitting there going, oh, my gosh, you just called out the president. I love it. Friends with Dusty Baker, so maybe we can pull this off. President lefty thumber, fastball about 46, changeup 32. He'll cut the fastball every once in a while, but he does not bounce it, which is the most important thing.
Tough on right-handers. Two balls, one strike.
I can't wait for opening day. Games that count, I can't wait for. And you talk to these guys right now, they're ready to go.
Three and one.
Well, I think the key for Gio Gonzalez, and this is another Captain Obvious statement, but is avoiding the big inning. You remember when some things start to go wrong behind him, whether it's a call here, a bloop single there. He's very excitable, and I think Mike Maddox's biggest challenge is going to be keeping the focus there when things start to go bad behind him and regrouping. And those things that go against him don't turn into a 2 or 3 or a 4-run inning.
Nick Swisher hit a ball up the middle first time. Nats in a big-time pull position back then. That was Murphy going to the left of the bag to throw him out. Now a 3-2 on the ground. And a 5-4-3. And I wonder for a second if Stephen Drew thought about going to the bag.
I think he might have tried to step on the bag, thought he was closer to the bag, but that had triple play written all over it. You saw Brendan Ryan's reaction right there. He has his glove over his mouth right now. That had triple play written all over it. Maybe he didn't trust it, the fact that he had time to go step on the bag, but one more step toward third, and maybe he was feeling for it without looking and just didn't come up with it and thought he was closer to it. But that definitely had triple play written all over it. There's smiles all over the Nats infield right now. They know it.
Stephen Drew, by trade, a shortstop. Probably hasn't made that play too many times.
Good call.
But that would have been something. It was within an eyelash.
But we talked about Steven Strasburg with the bases loaded, nobody out situation, and how you want those scenarios in spring training to work out of. Gio Gonzalez right here, another example. Base runners everywhere, and he gets the ground ball double play. It's a good sign.
30-year-old Tyler Flowers, the catcher. 239 for the White Sox last year. He hit that ball to the right side first time, on which Ryan Zimmerman made the really good backhand play. Fed on to Gio. So it was 2 on, nobody out. Now a runner at third, 2 down. And an 0-2 pitch, and that quickly, a calm and collected Gio Gonzalez is out of the inning. He's been really good through 4.
Time for a game summary sponsored by Bob Carpenter's Scorebooks. 5-1 as we go to the bottom of the fourth inning. Daniel Murphy, double. Brendan Ryan, 2-run single. Gio, 40 of his 60 pitches have been for strikes. Got out of a little jam right there. So everybody looking good for the Nats, up 5-1. How about Brendan Ryan's day? Going to the hole on the chopper, standing tall, right over the top. Strong throw. Right on the money. And a little 2-out knock. 2 strikes, put the ball in play, just throw it out to left. And that would score a couple. So Brendan Ryan having a nice day. You see the play Danny Espinosa made against the Cardinals yesterday, going into the hole, a jump throw a la Derek Jeter into short left field to get Pham from the Cardinals. One of the better plays in camp this year.
Yeah, Brendan Ryan now hitting .393 down here. Top of the, rather bottom of the fourth inning now. It's Ben Revere leading off. Chacin, 5 runs on 8 hits through 3. 3 strikeouts, a costly walk. Off-speed pitch. This one pretty well placed out to left center. And then over to grab it, Michael Bourne.
Good swing by Ben Revere right there.
A lot of things coming opening week. Get your tickets for next week. Baseball back April 7th, 4:05. Nats Marlins. That's part of a 3-game series. The Braves will come to town the 11th through the 14th before the Nats go back on the road. Nationals.com. Purchase your tickets. Check out upcoming promotions and giveaways and everything you need to know about your Washington Nationals. Check in on the fan forum at Nationals.com.
He'll be there.
Daniel Murphy has pulled it twice. Double to the base of the wall first time, and then a high fly ball that looked like a homer off the bat, and the breeze kept it in the yard. So he's had 2 impressive ABs pulling the ball against the right-hander.
Such a simple approach. Not a lot of movement with the lower half. The head's perfectly still. In my opinion, the ideal way to hit.
And then he'll flip that patented line drive the other way. I tell you, I think our fans are in for some kind of treat watching Daniel Murphy every day. You know, we've seen him 19 times a year, or 18 times, 3 or 4 at bats, but I think we're really going to appreciate the different things he can do.
Take a foot down early, ball's away, hit it away. Ball's in, he pulled it the first 2 times up. Wherever you pitch it, he's going to hit it. And I know Nats fans are glad that he's on their side now and not a pain in the butt like he was in New York. I mean, he was a tough out.
Here's Bryce. Single, walk, RBI, 2 runs scored. Squares to bunt, and that forces Gordon Beckham to come running in from shortstop area.
Well, it's there if he wants it. I'd imagine a lot of teams put this shift on Bryce Harper so that he will bunt.
Yeah, they'll give him a single.
Yeah. Bad idea to work on it right here.
You know, and then a couple of times last year we saw Bryce take nice easy swings and just ground it through that area, and in a couple of cases doubles when he got it close to the line. That's way outside. 1-1. He was unanimous, all the first place votes, youngest ever at the age of 22. Narrowly missed out on the batting title thanks to that other pest, D. Gordon.
Oh, last day of the season.
Yeah. Two and 1 with 1 out. Short lead by Murphy. Braves really playing Bryce to pull here. He'll wait for it and hit it extremely hard the other way, and Bourne at the last moment had to reach up. Bryce got just about all of it. A loud out, 2 down.
Pretty swing right there by Bryce Harper. And that's really all you want in spring training. You don't care about results. You care about barrel on the baseball. And Bryce Harper got something away in a 2-1 count, drove it this way. And you see the respect that Michael Bourne has given Bryce Harper to start with, playing him deep, and then he had to go back and toward the line to make a nice running catch. But in that bat where you might throw your helmet during the regular season, in spring training, you're happy with the fact that you put the barrel on the baseball. Not about results down here.
Ryan Zimmerman is now batting .303 with his 2-for-2 today. A base hit to left and then a flare to right. And a pop-up to the right side. Angling over Kelly Johnson. Nick Swisher didn't make any kind of move toward the ball. Then he makes the play after realizing Johnson had no chance to get there.
Pretty good play by Nick Swisher. Just an emergency catch right here. He knew he had no help from his second baseman. Went over, made a nice play.
Brendan Ryan having a good day, as FP pointed out. He has a 2-run single. Outstanding play. A 5-time I got it on a pop-up.
Right.
And here's the bench and how it's looking as there are some serious battles going on.
Well, I don't think you can go wrong with any of those guys. And how's that for being politically correct at this point? I've been in that situation, Carp. You see everybody else packing their suitcases, packing their boxes, sending them on the truck up north. And you're still in limbo land, waiting to see if you're going to be part of the 25-man roster. And there's only one position left. If you guys throw that up there one more time, there's only one spot left. So those 4 we showed you on the left are locks. And then the ones on the right are all fighting for that last spot on the bench, for that 5th spot. So
breaking ball, Kelly Johnson, a foul.
not fun.
And this is the ultimate do what you can control and try not to worry about everything else, but I don't see how that's possible totally.
Well, it's not about base hits. It's not about results. It's about doing things to help the ball club. For maybe the last guy on the bench, it's having a good at-bat, a leadoff walk, maybe when you're down by 1 in the 9th inning, or going in for defense and making a sparkling play to save a run. So, you know, you get caught up in Brendan Ryan's hitting 400 and so-and-so's hitting 200. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about the need and what Dusty Baker wants from that guy on the bench. Does he want right-handed Pappenheise? Does he want a left-handed athlete that's a 3rd/4th outfielder, in my opinion, in Dendecker? Does he want a middle infielder like Brendan Ryan that's going to add energy to a lineup and really help you defensively late in the game at second base maybe?
Now that's a defensive swing on a 1-2 curveball. Wilson Ramos coming out to grab it. Gets a little knucks with the glove from his pitcher. First out, 5th inning. As Gio, who came into this frame, 60 pitches, 40 strikes, continues to roll.
Just depends, Carp, on what you want if you're Mike Rizzo and Dusty Baker. I mean, you know, Campana adds some speed, some defense. Brendan Ryan adds the same. and energy, both those top two guys. Sizemore can hit. He's a good right-handed bat, a veteran off the bench. Reed Johnson, we didn't see him last year, but he's a guy that can lead you off an inning late and give you energy in a lineup on a Sunday day game after a Saturday night game. So Heisey's going to give you some pop off the bench late. But like I told Nats fans the last broadcast, that Dusty Baker uses his bench as much as any manager in baseball. And you're going to see those guys start, not just come in late in games.
That's a double to the gap in left center by young Johan Camargo, 22 years of age, out of Panama. Lined out hard to Murphy earlier. Bourne is next, and here is Dan with more.
Bob, talking about that bench conversation and who might take maybe that last spot on the 25-man roster, this is one thing that we talk about a lot in spring, but it's something that, talking to Nationals people, they say, you know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the season, whoever that 25th guy might be might get shuffled up because of injuries, because of specific needs that the team has. This is something that we focus a lot of time on here in spring as we're winding down, because it's something to talk about. It might change a lot the first couple weeks of the season, how the back end of the roster looks.
Yeah, Dusty made an interesting comment last week. He said sometimes the 25 best guys, those last couple guys, they might be the best players at that point, but do they fill, as you say, the needs the team has at that particular time?
And Dusty Baker's a guy that believes they're all big leaguers, and you're no worse on a Sunday afternoon after a Saturday night win with your bench guys in the lineup than you are with your starters that might be tired from the night game the night before. Yeah. And Dusty used to say, hey, we're all big leaguers here, so if I'm playing you, and you, that doesn't mean we're throwing up the white flag today. That means we're going to win because you guys are fresh. You guys are ready to play.
Yeah, go out and do your jobs.
Go out and do your jobs. We're all big leaguers here. And he really, really relies on the bench. It's something that Nats fans really haven't seen since the team moved back to D.C.
Michael Bourne, the hitter, struck out swinging against Gio first time. And Ramos over to pick that breaking ball out of the dirt. He held. I thought it might be close enough to be a called strike. And the count goes to 2-2 on the appeal down to third.
I'm just liking Gio picking up the target with a runner on second base. I mean, he used to start a lot of times looking at the runner at second, start his delivery out of the stretch. Right now, he's looking the runner back deliberately and then picking up his target before he starts his motion. Watch. And there was times last year when he would just look the runner back and start his delivery and then pick up the target late. But he's throwing far more strikes here today than we've seen him throw in a long time. Very consistent around the zone. Watch it. Look at the runner. Now pick up your target and then go. And I think in past years, seeing Gio, it would be somewhere in between. He would be rotating his head from the runner toward home and already starting his motion. So all this is really good stuff we're seeing here today from just a mechanic standpoint and what Mike Maddox has done with Gio Gonzalez here in Florida.
Well, he didn't get the previous pitch. Got the call on that one. Here's Chacin now with 2 outs. Over but low, ball 1. (5-1) Nats, 2 outs, top of the 5th.
See, you picked up the target late right there. Sometimes you're going to revert back to old habits and not be so deliberate with your look, but he rotated his head and was already starting his delivery before both eyes were on the target. I also want to stress, too, Carp, it's not something that just was brought to his attention this year. It's been brought to his attention before with Steve McCatty. He's just been really willing to work on it this spring versus maybe others.
Well, Gio, 31 starts last year, 12 no decisions. Went 11-8, 3.79 ERA. Chacin hits it well, and Jason Worth can't handle it. He'll come up throwing, and the Braves will score a run as Johan Camargo scores on a 2-out hit, so each pitcher has a base hit today.
I thought this guy could hit. I remember in Colorado he had a pretty good swing, had some good hacks his first time up. Looks like Jason Worth kind of got caught in between right there. Do I charge it and dive? Do I play it on a hop? And Yolis Chassin helps himself out with a knock.
That'll bring up Emilio Bonifacio. 0 for 2, strikeout and a ground ball.
I don't think with that left wrist that Jason Worth wants to risk diving in spring training, or maybe even in the season for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to see those replays again. Bonifacio, 167 in 47 games with the White Sox last year. And he has a base hit under the glove of Stephen Drew. 2 on, 2 out, 3 hits in the inning. That'll bring up the thorn in Gio's side now, Gordon Beckham. Home run in the first, leadoff hit in the fourth. Beckham's another guy who's from the Atlanta area originally. They've always been big on that. They have a fantastic youth program down there in Cobb County, which happens to be the area of their new ballpark. The so-called affluent suburbs of North Atlanta up there. Brian McCann, Jeff Francoeur. I come out of there.
I care about one thing in the new ballpark. Is the ride from the hotel shorter, and is the traffic less intense?
Yes, and slightly so.
Okay.
We'll be going north from Buckhead as opposed to south. And Brendan Ryan will cut that one off and take it right to the bag. So Gio minimizes the damage, a double, 2 singles, but only 1 run. Halfway through the ball game, some Easter lemonade. 5-2 Nats.
There's a lot to see.
Well, right down there, first base line, the Nationals dugout. They've pounded out 9 hits. Lead the Braves 5-2. It'll be Worth, Ramos, and Drew scheduled. Bottom of the 5th inning, and Mike Rizzo, kind enough to go professional broadcaster on us. Put on the headset right down there. Mike, thanks for joining us, first of all. Good to see you. And what do you like from what you've seen of Gio today?
Yeah, a little sideline reporting here, up close and personal. Gio's thrown the ball very well this spring. Working on a little consistency of the breaking pitch, but the velocity is good. The arm strength is good. He came into camp really good shape, and he's rounding into form nicely.
Yeah, I know it's been addressed before, but the picking up the target earlier looks good. It looks like he kind of lost that pause at the top of his delivery. Very smooth today.
Yeah, when he gets into a type of rhythm, when his mixing together all 3 of his pitches, he's tough to beat. And when he finds the strike zone, the hitters have a difficult time squaring him up.
Mike, I know it's only one game today, and Gio's number's not that bad, although the strikeout to walk ratio coming in wasn't good. But if you get Gio back to what we know he can do, how do you feel about this 5 guys in this rotation?
Well, we think that the 5 guys give us, every day we give a guy on the mound that has a chance to win a baseball game, and that's really all you're looking for. And Gio's been a great big league pitcher for us, and he's a durable guy that takes the ball every 5 days, and that's a godsend to the manager and pitching coach. So we like the staff that we have, 1 to 12 or 13, and we've got some depth in the minor league system. We've got another wave of hard throwing, really top of the line, top of the rotation type of pitchers on the way. So we like where we're at today. We like where we're at in the future.
Well, Mike, if you could tell the fans a little bit about the bullpen and how it's shaping up. A lot of new faces down there that Nats fans aren't familiar with.
Well, we kind of turned over things in the bullpen. The anchor to bullpen in ninth will be Pavel Bond. He's a proven closer. We all know about him, and we had 2 of our own take a step forward last year, and we think their progression this year is going to be immense. Rivero and Trinan, we think those guys are back end of a bullpen type of guys. They both throw 95 to 100 from right and left side, so we like where they're at. Sean Kelly, Yaz Petit, they've all done it at different places at different times, and we feel good about them. You've got Oliver Perez, who's coming off 3 stellar years as a left-handed reliever. So we like the mix that we have, and we like the guys that are going to get the final outs for us.
Jason Worth on the move and a fly ball out from Wilson Ramos. Stephen Drew next. We're visiting with Mike Rizzo. Mike, this lineup to me looks so much different with put the ball in play contact guys like Ben Revere and Daniel Murphy. What kind of effect will they have on the other 6 guys in front of the pitcher?
Well, the lineup is a little bit more balanced this year. We've added with the addition of Benny and Murph. We've added 2 good left-handed bats. They're guys that have propensity to put the bat on the ball. Dusty can do a lot of things with them. He can hit and run with them. He can move them. They're going to be more efficient, I think, offensively, and it'll give us a chance to really contend and grind down the really good pitchers in the league, which are hard to score in bulk. So chip away at guys, move runners around, put the ball in play, and we'll see what happens. And we like the balance and the different skill sets that these guys bring us.
Everyone breaking down the lineup, breaking down the rotation, talking about the bullpen and what it's going to bring this year. Excited about the season. But you said something to me today during batting practice. There was a very simple assessment of what needs to happen this season for your ball club. Can you repeat it on the air, what you said to me during batting practice?
Well, I said a lot of things to you, so I don't really remember which was. But,
it was something about staying healthy.
Yeah, the team that we have in place is, we feel can compete with anybody when they're healthy, and the key is to be healthy. Last year we weren't, and we underperformed. The year before we were, and we played well. So, we like the team that we have. It's a good, competent, competitive major league team that should win a lot of games and compete for division titles and that type of thing when we're healthy. So the key is to keep the big boys on the field, and when they're on the field, we like our chances.
Davey Lopes comes over, Mike. You've got some guys who can really run on this ball club. In fact, Dusty turning Jason Worth loose on a couple of hit and run opportunities here, but team speed, not every team has it. How unique is it?
Well, it's pretty unique, and it's getting more and more in this game, today's game, that you need to manufacture some runs. It's hard to wait for a couple of bloops and a 3-run homer. So against these good elite pitchers, you're going to try and squeak out a run or 2 per game, and we've got guys that not only can steal a base, but they're efficient base stealers, but they're good base runners. Going first to third, taking the extra base, scoring from second on a single, are all important keys to it. Dusty's an aggressive manager, and Dusty's an aggressive manager and a guy who's not afraid to take chances, and he's the type of person that he doesn't mind when a player takes a chance and gets thrown out, and because that's the aggressive style that we're going to play. And Davey Lopes is the king of base runners and base stealers. He was one of the greatest as a player, and he's one of the greatest as a coach, and to teach it. And it's more of a mindset. If nothing else, it's being aggressive, knowing you can do it, knowing you're not going to get chewed out for getting thrown out at key spots. It's part of our personality and our offensive productivity.
That was a hot shot by Stephen Drew. Couldn't handle it. Was Johan Camargo. So it's first and third, one out.
Getting a first-hand look at that battle for the last bench slot, Mike. I mean, worst time of year for the guys that are non-roster invites trying to break camp as that 25th man. I guess it's just based on what you need out of that last bench spot. There's 4 locks. Looks like there's room for one more guy. Not asking you who it is, but you got some good candidates.
We've got great candidates. These guys are all, big leaguers. They're all professional hitters or professional players. They conduct themselves beautifully in the clubhouse, and we couldn't be happier with the group of guys that we have here. Yeah, there's going to be some disappointed guys, but this is as we've said, it's a long season. There's a lot of games to be played, and the rosters don't consist of 25 men anymore. You need to be deep, you need to be good, you need to be talented up and down the big league roster and the AAA roster. So we've put together a good group of guys, and it's a credit to our front office and our major league scouts that we've got together these good veteran players that are competing for a roster spot and making it so tough for Dusty and I to make a decision.
2 balls, no strikes. Brendan Ryan, 11 for 28 in the spring. He's driven in his second and third runs in this ball game today. Gio is on deck. He has thrown 5 stellar innings, and the Nats lead 5-2, out hitting the Braves 10-6. 2-0 pitch. Fastball. He gets the call on the corner. Mike Rizzo with us. And Mike, off to Atlanta for a couple of games next week and then home for a week. At least the season doesn't start with some long, grinding type of road trip before you get to come home and play at Nats Park.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Obviously, it's always an exciting time when you break camp here and you make the trek north. We'll play a couple exhibition games in D.C. to really hone it up and get ready for the season, and we'll see what we got when we get to Atlanta.
All right, Mike, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks.
High chopper turned into a 5-4-3 double play. On to the 6th. Washington 5, Atlanta 2. Future Nat dreaming of playing in spring training. Some year, 5-2 Washington here.
And then getting shipped out to AAA. Come out to Nats Park Saturday, April 9th, as the Nats take on the Miami Marlins.
Cruel game, this baseball.
It is. The first 20,000 fans ages 21 and up will receive a Nationals t-shirt presented by, this year, Budweiser. Visit nationals.com to purchase your tickets today.
And Nats welcome the King of Beers to Nationals Park as the primary beer sponsor. Top 6, Jeff Francoeur. Gio, 80th pitch coming. He's thrown 52 strikes. And a little tapper, tough play, third base line. And a wise decision by Stephen Drew. Base hit, Francoeur's 2 for 3.
Does that mean we have Clydesdales on opening day?
That's what I heard.
Seriously?
I've heard that rumor.
Really? I just was joking. All right. Maybe the president's riding Clydesdales in the president's race? I feel like that
Those would have to be really big Clydesdales.
No, that should happen.
Yeah.
We need to make that happen. And then get Mass and Dan in a president's outfit riding a Clydesdale.
Oh, boy.
I usually wait till the extras get in for those things, but I just couldn't help it.
Here's Nick Swisher 0 for 2.
Take them off.
I mean, in Cincinnati, I had 2 opening days there as a player.
The traditional opening day of baseball.
And they had Clydesdales there.
Cool.
And, of course, in St. Louis. People with shovels right behind them. Always thought that was an interesting part of that whole deal.
That's fouled off the body of Nick Swisher. Hey, before we go on too much further, you know, talking about the extra guys and some of the guys battling for jobs, I just want to wish our very best to Tyler Moore. What a great kid on this ball club he's been for a number of years. The big hit in the playoffs in 2012 that won that game 2 in St. Louis for the Nats. He and his wonderful wife Whitney, we just want to let them know we're thinking about him. Hope that Tyler's career takes a great turn sometime in the very near future, and we just wish them the very best because they have been such a great part of the Nationals family over these last years.
Yeah, it's just a tough time of year to be put on waivers because rosters are starting to be set around the league, and then, you know, nobody claimed him, so he stays with the Nats and goes to AAA. And like Mike just said, there'll be a need for a guy like Tyler Moore this year, and we hope hopefully we see him in D.C. sometime soon.
Yeah, this one to right for Bryce Harper, approaching the line because of the breeze. That ball kind of dying on him. So we're wishing Tyler all the best wherever the road may take him, and we'll be rooting for him 100%. Here's Bryce running down a wind-blown fly ball.
Sliding catch. And the reason he slid after he caught it, because sometimes, you know, you don't know where that wall or that track's coming. Basically breaks.
Tyler Flowers has bounced to Zimmerman and struck out swinging. A.J. Pierzynski, by the way, will be 39 on opening day next week, their frontline catcher. The Bethencourt experiment evidently is over in Atlanta. They waited and waited for him, and A.J. hit 300 in 113 games last year with 49 RBIs. Reed Johnson's 39. Great to see guys like that still battling at a high level.
That's all good, but I still need to find out if there's going to be Clydesdales on opening day. I mean, I'm done until I hear the answer to that. Somebody has to email me or text me. I need to. I can't refocus until that is answered. I'm good.
Among other,
I'm good for
among
nothing.
other questions rattling around in that cage.
I'm good for nothing until I find out that answer.
0-2 pitch, and Flowers fouls it off to the right.
Like I was good for something before that, but I'm really good for nothing now.
Gio breaks off a curveball that dives down and in.
I mean, this is serious stuff. This is bigger than the primaries right now. Clydesdales at opening day. If there's going to be, we need to know, and we need to publicize that. If there's not, it's okay too. Either way is fine. I just need to know the answer, or I won't be able to sleep tonight.
1 ball, 2 strikes. So Gio tried to go under his hands with a fastball. And the 2-2. Out to right center. Bryce Harper tracking it. And now Kelly Johnson. With 2 down, Gio's retired him twice.
I'd be very curious if Gio can keep this demeanor in the second game of the year, because I love, and I can't stress enough, love what I'm seeing from a left-hander today. And it's not a results thing. It's not this many strikes, this many balls. It's just his presence on the mound, how under control he is, his delivery. And it's a spring training setting, so it's a relaxed setting. And for a veteran guy, but, I mean, look at the look. I mean, there's focus there. There's intensity there. But everything else, which at times can be out of control with him, where I've set up my radio show in D.C. that he can be very left-handed at times, which has been effective for him throughout his career. Remember how it's one here, one there, and then one right down the middle? And it's a tough at-bat for a hitter. But this is a refined, a veteran kind of presence that we're seeing today. And I really, really like it. And I hope this is a sign of really good things to come. He obviously hasn't had the best spring, but it's how you're progressing before you head north. And if this is any indication, it's a good sign.
Going with that breaking ball and just missing away, 2-1. Anthony Rendon, Clint Robinson, who has an RBI, Danny Espinosa behind Yusmeiro Petit. Split squad as they play down in Jupiter today, so the Mets on top there.
I mean, you've seen him. Are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing today?
Absolutely.
It's just under control.
High pop fly. How many I got it's for Brendan Ryan on this one?
I heard a bunch.
I heard about a half dozen. So Gio has stranded his 4th base runner of the day. 5.5. Actually 6 for him.
Here at Space Coast Stadium gave Gio Gonzalez a nice little standing O when he came off, and he shook Dusty Baker's hand, he shook Mike Maddox's hand. This is between innings, and then Maddox sat him down in between the two, had a little talk, a little laugh.
Well, do you want the facts and figures of his outing?
I think he's asking for another inning.
Well, they're about to pinch hit for him.
But I think that's what that was about between innings, that he was begging for another inning. Maybe. We'll see.
And Freddie Gonzalez is going to go out and pull Jhoulys Chacín, it appears. He just checked in with the umpire. So Chacín will go 5.
He must not have had his reliever ready or something.
He gives up 5 runs on 10 hits to the Nats. We'll get you all updated with the starters' lines in a moment. Produced to retransmit it in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Washington Nationals. 5-2 Nats. They've out-hit the Braves 10-7. New pitcher will be the left-hander, former Met Alex Torres. And the Nats will pinch hit for Gio Gonzalez as well.
See the career numbers on Torres. 4-pitch guy, fastball, slider, curveball, change. And fastball averages 92 miles an hour.
28-year-old lefty. And for the Nats, Caleb Ramsey will be hitting here. 27-year-old takes a big hack and fouls it off to the left side. Ramsey out of Houston. And the University of Houston, Nats took him in the 11th round 5 years ago. His numbers from his minor league career. And he bats for Gio here, bottom of the sixth. Ben Revere on deck. By the way, Gio Gonzalez, 2 runs, 7 hits, 6 innings. Greatest stat of all for him, other than the runs allowed, no walks. Struck out 4. Take that every 5th day, all year long. 95 pitches, 62 strikes. 1-1. Ramsey looks at what appeared to be kind of a changeup or a backup breaking ball up and in. Now it's 3 o'clock up and down the eastern seaboard. A happy Easter to all of you watching the Nats for the final time on Masson from Vieira this year. Our next telecast, Friday evening, Twins, Nats. One of the old versions of the Senators coming back to town. The ones that went to Minnesota, and then the other ones went to Texas.
There's Royce and Rusty. You missed it early in camp. Dusty Baker was calling Bryce Harper Royce for some reason. And then Bryce countered with, okay, Rusty.
You don't mess with Bryce Harper.
Or Royce Harper.
Yeah, Royce, pretty ornery himself.
Probably be his alias on the road this year. I think that has something to do with Royce Clayton. Dusty had Royce as a young player in San Francisco.
Yes, he did. A very fine shortstop he was. Top of the order, Ben Revere, 1 for 3. He's hit the ball in the air 3 times. One of them dropped in front of Michael Bourne last of the second. And Torres misses up high.
I mean, you go back to Ben Revere's at bat. in the top of the bottom of the second, when he fouled off all those pitches, 3-2. Daniel Murphy lined out for the third out behind him, but then the Nats scored 3 runs the next inning. You wonder if that at-bat off Yoelis Chacin kind of wore him out a little bit and led to the 3 runs the next inning. That's kind of the things you're going to see from Murphy and Revere this year, where maybe even they make outs, but they're 8, 9 pitch, 10 pitch outs, and you see the results further down the road. Something, you know, that we've seen from Jason Worth in the past, and Art Span, Anthony Rendon. And there's a lot of talk in camp about a lot of different guys, but being the key to the Nats offense, I think Anthony Rendon's the key.
1-1, and Revere takes it right up the middle. Took him a while to get out of the box. That ball got him down around the trademark, and he got his hands inside it and got good wood on it. 2 on, nobody out.
Did he stumble coming out of the box? It looked like he might have twisted his ankle. Let's see. Another good at-bat from Ben Revere. Yeah. Little stumble right there. Dusty Baker with his eyes on his center fielder. He's giving him a thumbs up, so we're all right.
Murphy next. Harper on deck, bottom 6.
Well, Ben Revere is going to be a fine addition to this ball club. I just love his at-bats.
You know, and guys like that become more dangerous when they're at the top of a lineup like this. Murphy gets jammed. Frank Gore has it.
Do you remember how many times you and I were doing our lineup cards against the Phillies, and we were putting Ben Revere in the extra slot, and we'd look at each other like, who did he punch?
Why is he not playing?
Why is he not? And we were okay with that.
Yeah.
Because we felt like when the Nats played the Phillies, if you got Ben Revere out, you had a chance to win.
Yeah.
But if he got on, it changes the whole dynamic of the inning. And we've always been big fans of the guy you're looking at. But time after time, we would fill out our lineups against the Phillies and say, why is Ben Revere not in the lineup?
Yeah, he's playing 1 game of this 3-game series.
And he had some kind of spark to that Blue Jays lineup when he went over there after that trade. And the Nats are hoping that he could do the same thing in 2016 for them.
Bryce has had some good swings today. Fought one off, RBI single up the middle first time. Walk and a run scored. Then he gashed one to left. Bourne robbed him of a double or a triple his 3rd time up.
And a lot of times when you're rebuilding like the Phillies are, you want to see your young players and what you can get from your young players. And veteran guys that you already know what they can do sometimes get shoved to the back of the line when you're not trying to win in your rebuilding mode. So I believe that's what happened to Revere in Philadelphia. But he went to a first-place team in the Blue Jays. You saw what happened. And now hopefully to another winning ball club where he has more value with a winning team, his speed, his leadership abilities. You know, Denard Span and he are very close. Denard kind of took Ben Revere under his wing in Minnesota. They were very good friends. Denard even texted him when he came to the Nats and said, hey, you're going to love it there. So all these things, positives. It wasn't that he wasn't good in Philadelphia. They were just in a different mode.
Count goes to 2-1.
This could be a far one right here.
Yeah, the way he's swinging, it could go from one side of the park to the other. There's a far one. Is it fair? No.
Turn on it again, brother.
Yeah, that was tattooed. Couldn't keep it fair. Might have been off the plate in. Let's see where the location is. Yeah, just off the plate. He tried to fight his hands inside that baseball, but that one's going to be in the rough. And you really can't hit a ball any better than this. Watch out. Did that car get hit right there?
I don't hear any alarms. 2-2 with 1 out.
This is where he goes single to left. Look at the shift. He's just got to hit a ground ball to shortstop right here for an RBI.
Yeah.
I'm saying just.
Third baseman Brandon Snyder over there because of the runner at second. They moved Gordon Beckham over to second between innings after they made that double switch, pulling out Chacin, bringing in Alex Torres. Runners on the move, and Harper pulls it to the right side. So Dusty started the runners with one out. Swisher to Torres. So Ramsey to third and Revere to second.
Check out the sequence between Torres and Harper. First pitch fouled off, then he goes curveball overthrow, kind of slips. Same thing here. And this is the far one we were hoping we'd see, just couldn't keep it fair. Another ball, 3-2 count, runners on the move, ground ball to first base. This is so dangerous up there. And good hustle, by the way, to first base in a spring training game by Bryce Harper.
Pitching change for the Braves. Zimmerman coming up for the Nats.
This is our point of view.
Well, the staff's all dolled up for Easter. Hey, we see a UVA guy there anticipating tonight's matchup with Syracuse for a trip to the Final Four. Go Cavaliers. Dan Winkler, 26 years of age, originally drafted by the Rockies in the 20th round 5 years ago. And Winkler for Atlanta last year, just a couple of ball games during the regular season, totaling about 5 outs worth of major league action.
Still haven't heard from anybody from the Nats, but somebody on Twitter sent me a link that the Budweiser Clydesdales are scheduled to make an appearance on opening day.
I knew I saw that.
So it's in the Washington Post, so that means it's official.
Plus, it's on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Swing and a miss. Ryan Zimmerman trying to reach a pitch away. Ryan's had a good day. RBI single in the first. Single. Run scored in the third. So Ryan's got 34 at-bats down here. I know the conjecture a couple of weeks ago was, and he was late getting at-bats as they were careful with Ryan and the plantar fasciitis, is that all he would need would be 30 at-bats or a little bit more than that in spring training, and he'd be good to go. So he's there. Third base, Ramsey. Second base, Revere. Way outside.
Maybe you could come in from center field gate riding one and then do the lineups at home plate, which you've never done. That would be great. And introduce everybody, dismount right at home plate.
I did it 1 year, but that was 10 years ago.
I got ideas. I'm an ideas guy.
Got to meet Vice President Cheney, actually, back in 06. He threw out the first pitch at RFK. 3 balls, 1 strike. Ooh, front door breaking ball, kind of hanging there, but I think Ryan was looking away. Count is 3-2.
I think the key to driving in runs, and Ryan Zimmerman's so good at it, is not being afraid to hit with 2 strikes. A lot of times you get so excited in these situations as a hitter, you don't want to get to 2 strikes. But the guys that are comfortable hitting with 2 strikes are usually the guys that have more success.
Fights one off into center field. It is on the ground. 2 more runs. And the Nats lead 7-2. Ryan Zimmerman has driven in 3 today. He is opening day ready.
But he doesn't care. I mean, a lot of times you'll see him take a first pitch fastball right down the middle with runners in scoring position. You're like, what is he doing? Well, it's ultimate confidence in that he can hit with 2 strikes. So in a 3-2 count with 2 strikes, hands inside the baseball, the ball's elevated, fights it off for a couple of RBIs with 2 outs, and he's a professional run driver inner. There's no doubt about it.
Jason Worth, 4th at bat of the day, and he's had a good one. Couple of hits, a run scored. And out to short. Camargo takes care of that. Nats pick up 2 more runs. Leadoff walk help. Zimmerman drives in 2. It's 7-2.
How about a game summary? 7-2 Nationals as we head to the top of the 7th inning. Ryan Zimmerman, pretty good day. 3 for 4, 3 RBIs. Brendan Ryan doing his thing. Some good defense in there as well. And let's check out the day of the long-haired Gio Gonzalez. You remember he first came to the Nats? He had the shaved hair. He could cut his hair before every start. No facial hair. Well, I'm kind of liking this version. Very under control today. The sinker was great. I like the new delivery. Very smooth. Picking up the target early. No pause at the top. Was able to repeat his mechanics. And even when he had a few runners on, he got the ground ball double play. So just a nice, relaxing day for Gio Gonzalez. Did a great job out there, and we really, really liked what we saw from the left-hander.
Well, Sean Burnett about to go back-to-back days here. What a great story. The 33-year-old has been here in the spring.
It's a great story that after 2 Tommy Johns, he's even standing on the mound right now. When I saw the Nats signed him, very excited to see how this thing turned out. And he's had a good spring so far, and our fingers are crossed that he heads north with this ball club. We'll see what happens.
Johan Camargo, the young shortstop, the hitter. Base hit last time. Out to left center. A 1-out double came around to score on the pitcher's RBI hit by Chacin. Tapper third base line. It's going to stay fair. Christopher Bostic knew he had no play, so he hoped it went foul. So Christopher Bostic at third. Scott Sizemore at short. Jonathan Solano behind the plate. And in center field, Rafael Bautista. Bourne with a hopper to short. Sizemore, Murphy, safe. Bourne tough to double up. He beat it out.
When Sean Burnett's right, if you remember in 2012, you really can't elevate the ball off him as a hitter. He has such late sink, and it's so late that it's ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. And I think this is a big day for Sean Burnett, and the fact that, like you said, Carp, it's his first back-to-back appearance. And even if he doesn't make this team, and we have no idea what's going to happen, the worst-case scenario, him going to AAA for a minute and building up to those back-to-back days on a consistent basis and see how his arm responds to that, and maybe getting stronger in Syracuse, worst-case scenario, when you're facing never pitching again and double Tommy John, I don't think is something that obviously he wants to make the team. He's had a good enough spring where he deserves to make the team, but and the numbers game, the lefties thing, options, opt-outs, there's so many things that go into it besides just performance.
Yeah. Basically hasn't pitched at the big league level in 4 years, because in 13, only 13 games for the Angels, 3 the year after that, didn't pitch at all last year. He was a workhorse for the Nats 2010, 11, and 12, 73, 69, and 70 games with ERAs of 2.14, 3.81, and 2.38. He was so solid, so consistent.
Hey, you know, that whole 2012 season, you talked to him and his arm was always kind of barking. And as a reliever, you can't go on the disabled list when you're in a free agent year.
This one to right. Ball takes off on Bryce, and he can't quite reach it. Bourne to third after he held up initially. It'll be runners at second and third, 1 out.
Maybe a little bit elevated on the sinker, but a nice inside-out swing, and Bryce Harper kind of fooled a little bit. Took a jab step in, tried to make up for it. Probably would have dove during the regular season for that ball, but nice self-preservation. And now Sean Burnett finds himself in a little bit of a jam here. Runners on second and third, 1 out.
Double given to Snyder. Braves have 9 hits. That's about hit them 12-9 and lead 7-2. Top of the order, Emilio Bonifacio. Pulled one through the left side last time. He's 1 for 3. Against a hitter like this, Bryce would normally play shallower and right, anticipating a chance to throw somebody out at the plate, but he's a little deeper with that wind out there. It's kind of shifted a bit. And that ball tailing away from him. By the way, Dan has more on Sean Burnett.
Bob, something that works in Sean Burnett's favor when it comes to him potentially making the Nationals roster to begin the regular season is that he has an opt-out, which means that if the Nationals don't have him on their 25-man to open up the season, he could become a free agent. He could choose to become a free agent. There are other pitchers in the mix for a bullpen spot who the Nationals could option down to the minor leagues. Burnett doesn't have that in his contract. The Nationals would not be able to keep him unless he agreed to. So that's something that he has working in his favor if he's trying to crack this roster.
1-1 pitch. Off speed he went. And Bonifacio well over the top of that one.
I think, you know, that's nice that he has that option, but in my opinion, he has people that know him, respect him, and love him in this organization, and or have a tremendous amount of gratitude for what he did in 2012. So even if he does have that opt-out, unless there's scouts that are just all over him right now and he's all over everybody's radar, I think he stays a national, whether he makes the team, well, if he doesn't make the team. There's something to be said for people that know you and know what you can do, rather than having to go somewhere new and prove yourself.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Well, Dusty addressed that the other day. You know, managers, they're not always privy to the paperwork and all that. I mean, they're going by the eye test and what they know and what's happening between the lines. But there are other things that come into play. Here's a 3-2 pitch with one out, and the foul off the mask of Jonathan Solano. Burnett in relief of Gio, who is very good through 7 today. 2 runs on 7 hits. Didn't walk anybody. Struck out 4. 95 efficient pitches. Had him reaching, and that's foul.
And kind of getting back to what I was saying about 2012, you would talk to him after outings, and he was always playing with his left arm and getting treatment every day. But when you finally have that chance to become a free agent as a relief pitcher, and to set your family up, if you go on the DL or you tell people that your arm's barking, you might not get that contract that he got with the Angels. I don't think his arm was hurt at the time, but he was definitely feeling the effects of a lot of wear and tear over the last 2 or 3 years with the Nationals. And just kind of sucked it up and went out there and got the job done. And that's where the loyalty comes in, Carp. When you've basically given your left arm for an organization to get to a place that it's never been before and get to the postseason to win a division title, you're loyal to a guy like that forever. If you're Mike Rizzo, you have a chance to sign him and keep him around, you will. You don't forget things like that.
He gets the pop-up, but it's back this way and out of play.
What do we got?
Cap Day.
Oh, yeah.
Opening day.
Join Major League Baseball new era in 30 clubs as we celebrate opening day. Make sure to wear your favorite cap. Do we get to wear one on the broadcast on April 4th? And share it on social media using hashtag #CapsOn for a chance to win prizes.
I need a haircut. I say yes.
Yeah, me too. Hat's as good as a shower.
Swing and a miss. 78. Burnett teasing Bonifacio, who tried to jump out there and get it.
Yeah, change up right here, right? Turns it over. Bonifacio out front. Big time strikeout. He needed it. He got it. Not done yet.
Yeah, even elevated a bit. Still enough wicked away movement to get the K. And here's Gordon Beckham, who's had a good day, 2 for 3. He's the only guy that really solved Gio today. All right, FP, when a guy's pitching for the 2nd day in a row like Sean, what exactly are you looking for in terms of his pitches? Velocity and movement, or the movement more important?
Location.
Gotcha.
If you're tired, you can't locate. And when you haven't pitched back-to-back in 2 years and coming off a Tommy John surgery, you're looking for, is he hitting his spots? Is he down in the zone?
Yes, he is. And he gets a ground ball. Murphy and Sean Burnett making a case here at Space Coast Stadium. Time to stretch. Nats by 5.
There's a lot. Fries right there. What do we got?
Cheeseburgers in paradise.
Oh, that's wonderful. They need to bring some of those up here. I love hot dogs. 7-2 as we go to the bottom of the seventh inning. Let's check out Sean Burnett getting out of the jam. Second and third one out. He gets Bonifacio on a changeup.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good pitch right there in a 3-2 count. Then he gets a guy that has a couple of hits today. And Gordon Beckham to ground out. So Sean Burnett stays scoreless. Unscored upon.
Yeah.
Goose eggs in 2016 camp. Not so much how you got there. You want to see how a guy gets out of a jam, and I think that said a lot to Dusty Baker. Gave up the trickler down the third baseline for a single, the double over Bryce Harper's head. What do? Do you panic? Do you get a couple of outs and get out of that? That's what I want from a guy in the seventh inning.
Here's Christopher Bostic, had a birthday last week. Pardon me, he's on deck. This is Jonathan Solano, who wears number 23. Bostic, 23 years of age next, and Jonathan came in to replace Wilson Ramos behind the plate last half inning. Got a breaking ball, fair ball down the third baseline. Brandon Snyder picked out by Nick Swisher. 1 out, bottom 7th. Bostic is next. He's had a good spring in limited action, 4 for 13, 4 RBIs, batting .308.
And you remember, Carp, the term I used to use for Sean Burnett's seventh inning in 2012, that he was boring? We found out how important a seventh inning can be to a bullpen last year.
They were not.
They were anything but boring.
Yeah.
There was a lot of drama, and Sean Burnett in 2012 was no drama when he went out there. It was just, 1, 2, 3, thanks for coming, get it to the 8th and the 9th.
Bostic goes ripping, and that's exactly what he does on a 1-0 pitch. Next up will be Scott Sizemore.
I'm going for the CG on my scorebook today.
Yeah, you bailed in the 13-0 game.
Yeah, but it's getting close to opening day. I got to be in scorebook shape.
Yeah.
It's that time. Maybe some makeup practice.
And by the way, I have had questions from fans. Yes, they will be in the ballpark Friday and Saturday on opening day. We have a whole new setup in the team store up in D.C. and Nats have a lot of exciting things happening. We actually put them in the team store down here for the second spring. It was kind of fun.
You could use one to clean up after the Clydesdales if you wanted to.
Now that's harsh.
I'm using yours today. Come on.
Out to right. Francoeur off the bat of Sizemore, 2 down. Number 91 is Adrian Sanchez coming in to hit. One of the minor leaguers gets a chance to come over to camp today.
Swing as hard as you can at the first pitch. Pretty good numbers.
Yeah, he's 0 for 1 in the spring. And he's hitting 4. Sean Burnett. A few moments ago, we showed you Matt Belisle warming up to take over in the top of the 8th for the Nats. 1-0 pitch. Perfect on the outside edge. Second inning of work for the right-hander by Atlanta, Dan Winkler. And by the way, pitched right up the road, University of Central Florida in Orlando.
I don't know about you. I'm ready for some games that count.
Well, you're getting better. Last year you were saying that on March 10th.
Yeah.
I mean, today's the 27th,
Yeah,
so.
you're right. Oh, I'm working on it.
We got started a little later with our TV games this year. It was the second week of spring training. And that's it for the Nats in the bottom of the 7th. He did swing, by the way, as hard as he could.
You know, once you get past bike week down here, you know the season's right around the corner.
Let's roll.
Happy Easter, everybody. Nationals 7-2 over the Braves. I'm loving the ears. They're everywhere in the ballpark today. And so are Jose Lobaton's Guns. With a 2016 flex plan, the choice is yours. Pick your 4 games. Starting at just $80 plus, we'll throw in a free Nationals grill item. Visit nationals.com/flex to buy your flex plan today.
Only one thing missing from that shot. His paper cup binoculars.
That's right.
So we go to the top of the 8th inning. So Gio, followed by Burnett and now Belisle. Matt Belisle for the Nats will make his 5th appearance. He's given up 3 hits and 3 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings pitched. Veteran guy and a definite candidate for the right side of the bullpen. He will take on Francoeur, Swisher, and Flowers scheduled here for the Braves. Top 8.
I just like a guy that's had success in hitters' ballparks. And when you talk about Belisle's career, if you could get outs in Coors Field.
In Cincinnati before that.
Cincinnati before that. You can get outs anywhere. Yeah. Especially Nats Park. And I think Dusty Baker really likes the veteran calmness of what he brings to a table as far as getting ground balls.
Hot shot to right. And as opposed to the other balls that have taken off on Bryce Harper, that one seemed to die kind of in front of him.
Yeah, you see how he stopped right there? That means he lost sight of the ball. Anytime you see an outfielder tracking a baseball, then hit the brakes, then go after it again, then try to hit the gas, it means somewhere in the backdrop he didn't see it.
It's Matt Skoll for Ryan Zimmerman over at first base as the 8th inning commences. Murphy, Harper still in there, and we'll figure out who's in left field replacing Jason Worth. Looks like Bostic might have gone out to left field.
All right, give me this. Sizemore's at third.
Yeah, he moved over to replace Bostic. And then young Mr. Sanchez. Adrian Sanchez stayed in after pinch hitting to play shortstop.
Got it. Staying with you today. Finishing this game. I don't need a bullpen.
So I've got the pitcher batting in the number 5 spot. We'll see how that works out. Now that the pitchers are hitting, we've got double switches going on again. And Belisle gets it by Nick Swisher. Swisher on the day 0 for 3.
That's like a cutter right there at 84.
Two-2 pitch with nobody out. Out of play, high in the air, off to the left side.
And Belisle's a 4-pitch guy. Fastball last year averaged 91 miles an hour. Slider at 86. Curveball 9% of the time at 75. And an occasional changeup only 2% of the time at 85. So really fastball, slider, curveball.
Swing and a miss for the first out. That'll bring up Tyler Flowers with 1 on, 1 out, 8th inning.
Like a 2-strike fastball right here to Nick Swisher, just by him. A little bit late, might have been guessing soft, got hard. Yeah, a little tardy. Head came out of there, shoulder flew out. That was a 3-0 hack with 2 strikes.
And that breaking ball, he's late for it, out of play right side.
Yeah, I'm looking at Belisle's numbers. With the Cardinals, he had a 2.67 ERA.
A fairer ballpark.
A fairer ballpark, that's my point, thanks. And then, you know, he only pitched 33 2/3 for the Cardinals. Had some issues with his elbow there. But you see the movement right there late at 87. That's where the ground balls come from.
"35 years of age, originally drafted by the Braves back in '98, broke in with the Reds in '03. Little hop on that fastball as it veered back to the outside edge. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
See, the numbers I'm starting to like, Carpa, the ground ball percentages, especially with relievers that aren't strikeout guys. If you need a ground ball late, with the Cardinals last year, he had a 52.4% ground ball ratio. So half the time, guys are hitting the ball on the ground. You know, that's what you want from a late inning guy. You remember Ryan Matthews, that was what he was so adept at, coming in, getting right-handers out. You know, runner on first base, holding them close, ground ball, innings over. That was as high as 53% one year with the Rockies. So,
as if on cue, 4, 6, 3. Inning ending. Double play. Here in mid-April Farm, Santangelo.
Thank you.
7-2 Nats, middle of the 8th.
One last game summary from Vieira, Florida. Here you go, folks. 7-2 Nationals as we head to the bottom of the 8th. I know you've been waiting for it, but let's check out the day of Ryan Zimmerman, a guy that really doesn't need a whole lot of at-bats to get ready for the season. Blessed with the hand-eye coordination. He's got so much going on in this swing. The timing really never an issue down here. Usually guys with the bat wiggle, the leg kick, and all that stuff going on take a lot of time to get ready, but not the case with Ryan Zimmerman. As you look at his 3-for-4 day, one that he wishes he could fast forward and keep on April 4th against Julio Teheran and the Braves. He's ready to go home. He's had enough.
That's the face of a guy who's had a hard day of work. This is lefty Kyle Kinman, Omaha, Nebraska native. He's 25 years of age, out of Bellevue University in Nebraska, 25th rounder by the Braves just 2 years ago, and he's making his second appearance of the spring. Kyle Kinman. So for the Nats, Rafael Bautista will be the leadoff guy here, bottom 8. Daniel Murphy and Bryce Harper scheduled after him. Murph is on deck, and Bryce has a bat, and he's sitting next to Dusty. So those guys wanted a full day of work today, and they'll each get 5 plate appearances.
Nice.
Bautista took over last inning for Ben Revere in center field. And this one high in the air, left side of the infield. Brandon Snyder. One out, bottom 8. Daniel Murphy's had a nice day. Pulled a double first inning. Hit a long fly ball to right, stopped by the wind in the second. And then a patented late in the count single to left center in the 4th before flying out in the 6th.
Hey, Harp, have a great year, man.
538 plate appearances last year for Daniel Murphy. 38 strikeouts.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's hard to get.
And a right side, Nick Swisher, or his replacement. Which, we'll have to check it out.
Number 89.
That is number 89, Jake Schrader.
He played quarterback for the Redskins, didn't he?
Well, it could have been pronounced that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Murphy, one of those guys, as Bryce steps in, who makes contact 85 to 90% of the time.
That's amazing.
It's just very impressive.
All that is a mindset, really. I mean, it's making an adjustment with 2 strikes. Maybe not taking anything out of your swing, but expanding your strike zone a little bit. And then just really just grinding and sticking your nose in there and saying, you're not going to strike me out. It's really as simple as that.
Bryce Harper with a high fly out of play, left side. So Bryce's day, RBI single, walk, 2 runs scored. Third time up, maybe his most impressive at bat of the day, just scorched one to left. And Michael Bourne, playing deep, ran it down. Ball had an extra gear when it got out there because we saw Michael reaching up to grab it. He had double or triple written all over it. And Harper guides one up the middle. That's a one-hopper. And the Nats go in order in the bottom of the 8th inning. Coming in to close it, Applebaum. Back here in Vieira, top of the ninth inning, the Nats are looking for their 17th win out of 21 one-loss decisions down here. The Twins will be in at 6 p.m. Friday at Nationals Park. Some special seating arrangements for the game. Make sure you check it out on nationals.com. Saturday, the Twins at noon. And then the day off Monday, the Nats will be in Atlanta working out and play the Braves Monday at 4. Off day Tuesday, Wednesday at 7. Open against the Marlins after that. Here's Jonathan Papelbon making his 6th appearance of the spring.
That fastball low 90s, slider split.
Blake Lally, by the way, is the hitter here. Strike one.
For those of you in full panic mode at home, sometimes the gun's a little slower here in spring training.
It is.
So that 84-mile-an-hour fastball is probably more like 89, 90. Steven Strasburg was throwing 92, 93 the other day, and guys were late on everything. So
yeah. Many wish the Florida Highway Patrol had that gun on 95.
Yeah. I wish in about 15 minutes, actually.
No ball, 2 strikes.
The last drive to win to Orlando International Airport coming up next.
It is a track meet. Next year will be very close to the West Palm Airport, but it offers about 1/4 the number of flights Orlando does.
It does.
Many will drive up from Fort Lauderdale next year. Tapper left side. Papelbon can't reach it. And that ball played in fine fashion by Scott Sizemore.
Well, good effort by Papelbon. He just couldn't get over there because he fell off the mound toward the first base side, tried to regroup. And then Sizemore with a beautiful bare hand play. Not a problem at all. Bare hand, good throw, something on it, right on the money. Nicely done.
Next up is the young shortstop, Johan Camargo. A position where we will look out next Monday, too, and be very happy to see Andrelton Simmons no longer there.
He's not?
Southern California now for him.
Well, there'll still be that Freddie Freeman dude at first.
I know.
And like I said earlier, their lineup is not bad. Everyone's saying the Braves are in rebuilding mode, but Markakis, he can hit. Przinski coming off a career year last year, or a good year, I should say. Yeah. Ender Inciarte, we loved what we saw from him in Arizona. Came over in the Shelby Miller trade with Dansby Swanson and a right-handed pitcher, I believe, that might be ready sometime during the season. But even though their lineup's good, I still have question marks about their rotation with Teron, Norris, Whistler, Chacin, who we saw here today, and Fultonavich, who we saw last year a little bit. We saw Whistler, too.
And nowhere near the bullpen they used to have.
No, all the bullpens are in the American League East now.
Some division that'll be. This is number 98. Outfielder Matt Lipka came in an inning ago. Solid from Gio to Burnett to Belisle and Papelbon so far on the pitching side in this 7-2 game.
And if you haven't been watching American Idol, Jonathan Papelbon's doppelganger is on there in Trent Harmon. And who hasn't not been watching American Idol?
It's still on the air.
They're going to have Clydesdales on it next show.
Solano.
Another curly W here in spring training that means absolutely nothing but games that count right around the corner. And Dusty Baker's got to love the way his guys are playing in Florida.
Nats win at 7-2, out hitting the Braves 13-10. Gio gets the win, Chacin the loser, and we'll put a wrap on our version of spring training in just a moment.
There's a lot